All right, I guess it looks like everybody's here. We can go ahead and get started. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Introductions.
Oh, you do introductions first. If we could go around the room and just identify everybody. I'm Garen Wade from the Police Department, the chair this year.
I'm Adrian Beck from the Missoula Office of Emergency Management, and I want to acknowledge that this presentation is being recorded by the Missoula Community Access Television as part of a media access grant donated to Missoula County. And so because of that, it's very important that as you say your name or have anything to say to the group, that you do speak into the microphone, so we'll pass one around when we do introductions.
I'm Gordy Hughes, Vice Chair, and with the Missoula Fire Department.
Start up here in the front.
Ray Nicholas, hydrologist with the National Weather Service here in Missoula.
I'm Marty Whitmore with the Weather Service.
Travis Kraft with the West Central Montana Avalanche Center.
RJ Nelson, St. Patrick Hospital.
Callum Schneider, Montana DES.
Rick Forkel, Montana DES, Western District Field Officer.
Anne Marie Scott, Team Rubicon.
Stacy Finley, Partnership Health Center.
Tony Bassino, Montana Rail Link.
Paul Manson, Team Rubicon.
Jim Irvin, Health Department.
Lisa Timms, Health Department, Emergency Preparedness.
Leah Hickey, Health Department.
Ian Thigpen, DPHHS, Emergency Preparedness.
Lori Dove, Mineral County DES.
Shiloh Lucier, OEM.
Ken Parks, OEM. Joe Callan, Frenchtown Rural Fire District, and representing Missoula County Fire Protection Association.
Rob Seuss, representing Missoula County.
Brad Davis, Missoula Fire Department.
Paul Finley, Missoula Rural Fire Department.
Ben Panis, Montana Highway Patrol.
Ari Cornelius, I work for Missoula Fire Department.
Rick Nelson, the Goodman Group.
Troy Monroe, Assistant City Engineer.
Dave Strohmeyer, Missoula County Commissioner.
Cobb Moa, Consumer Direct Care Network.
Chris Fink, CHS Pipeline.
Dustin Rogers, Phillips 66, Yellowstone Pipeline.
Angela Leonce with the Missoula City Public Works Safety.
Jackie Baldwin LeClaire, American Red Cross.
Jennifer Sweden with Mountain Line.
Russ Lawrence, Community Medical Center.
Nick Holloway, Missoula County Emergency Management.
Judy Douglas, Missoula Aging Services Senior Corps Volunteer Program.
All right, well, thank everybody for being here. It's getting to be a pretty good crowd. We might need a bigger room soon.
Without a post.
Add another column. All right, has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes? Any, yes? Any changes? What do you have?
Oh, yes, first one.
All right, any other changes to the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve? Second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll show the minutes approved. Next thing on the agenda is the one I've been looking forward to, election of officers. I guess we can go ahead and open it up for nominations for chair to begin with. I think what I'd like to do is nominate Gordy. He's done great as the vice chair this year. And just makes sense to have him take over as the chair. Any other nominations? We have a motion to close nominations for chair.
So moved.
All right. So by voice, all in favor of Gordy taking over as the chair?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Gordy will be the new chair. Thank you. We'll go ahead and open it up. Before Gordy takes over, we'll open it up for vice chair then. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chair, I would nominate Tony Bacino.
Any other nominations? Do we have a second for that? All right.
Not the first time.
All right. In a motion to close the nominations for vice chair? All right, so all in favor of Gordy signify by saying aye.
Tony?
Or Tony, I'm sorry. Yes. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. I guess we hand everything over and leave?
Thanks for your service, Garen.
I don't know if I like that order of business. That's awfully quick action. I guess following the agenda, we will move to public comment. Anyone? All right, seeing none. Community preparedness presentation, Missoula Avalanche Center.
I can drive a little bit. Afternoon. I'm Travis Kraft, the director of the West Central Montana Avalanche Center. And I'm here to talk today about just a quick history of how the center came to be, what we do for our community, and how it's funded, and how we've helped in the past in different instances. So first off, there's two components to what we do. The first is what we consider the forecast or the advisory, and that is produced on Tuesday mornings, Thursday mornings, and Saturday mornings. And it involves an adjective rating with snow pit results as what the backcountry recreation hazard is. This has been a product that started in 1983 based out of a fatality that happened near Lolo Pass on Mount Fuji. The Snow Ranger at that time started producing a snowpack summary after that fatality every weekend. We're now close to 30 years we've been doing this, and we've evolved into a Type 2 avalanche center and issuing these advisories 3 times a week. A Type 1 avalanche center issues them 7 days a week. So if you look at the Flathead Avalanche Center and the Gallatin Avalanche Center. How these issues or advisory are made is the Avalanche Center has a cost share agreement with the Lolo National Forest. So that is how these advisories are created, by the center and the Lolo National Forest. Now the other part that we do is from our Avalanche Foundation, and that is our 501c nonprofit. And their mission statement is to provide educational opportunities. If you could click the education button for me. At the top on our website, there we go. And this is a list of all our education events relating to backcountry recreation in our area. And if you could click our map button, this is the West Central Montana Avalanche Advisory Area. So it stretches from Lost Trail Pass down in the southern Bitterroots, north to the Rattlesnake and the southern Swans and Mission Mountains in the Seeley Lake area, and it stretches west to around the Superior Ranger District, so the city of Superior. It's one of the largest north to south forecast areas in the nation. So that's where we forecast for, and this is where we provide all our education opportunities. And the other main component that we also help with is we investigate fatalities and near misses of avalanche people. backcountry recreationalists. Steve Karkin and I were some of the first responders onto the biggest event that we've had in this community, per se, in the Rattlesnake on Mount Jumbo. And we assisted with search and rescue, the sheriff's department, as well as the city in making recommendations for evacuations, how to look for some of the people that were still buried when we showed up on scene, and liaison that way. We also then, Dudley and Proda, who's now retired from the center, and I made several assessments of the Mount Jumbo snowpack the days following that to make recommendations on how to keep the area safe and mitigate the hazard. So that's kind of how we fit in this. There's also was a fatality over the weekend up in Choteau, Montana, that was outside our advisory area. And in those instances, they asked different avalanche centers to go investigate those and find out what happened. And what the main point of going to investigate these is not to associate blame or anything. It's to find out what happened and use it as a learning experience. And so with the Rattlesnake, what we have done now is as conditions start, since it is out of our forecast area, because we only forecast backcountry recreation on Forest Service land, we have an MOU, and we liaison with the fire chief to give recommendations to the city on what hazards we may be seeing coming up. And that's an ongoing conversation as conditions present itself. So that's pretty much all I have for my presentation. I'll open the floor up to anyone who has questions. All right.
Marty or Ray, your report from the Weather Service?
All right, I thought I'd show you a little bit about what's been going on for the past, the winter thus far. We've got a climate section on our website that it's got a lot of cool tools on it. If you have this sort of interest, you can cruise around and look at most places, what's been going on. There's not a lot of climate data at every observational platform. Some are called official climate data. Missoula is one, Kalispell, Butte. But there is some information out there for even like the remote automated weather stations that the Forest Service owns and things like that. But I'll just stick to Missoula here. If we want to look at the past 30 days, this is a kind of a temperature profile, and I don't really look too closely at this, the numbers, but you can see wherever we're in red, we were above normal, and those very brief instances of blue, we were below normal. So for the past 30 days, by and large, it's been a fairly warm month, and that's not unexpected when it comes to the El Nino winter that we're in. So you can look at that. You can go back and look at the same type of information for 90 days or the full year if you want to. You can look at precipitation the same time period. This one in particular doesn't show a whole lot. There hasn't been a whole lot of a lot of precipitation out there, and again, that's what we expected in El Nino winter. It's and the most impactful kind of weather we've had probably been on and off again freezing rain episodes. And this line up here at the top, everything in brown is just showing it being a little bit drier than normal. The black line on top is the normal line. If I jump back 90 days, you can see a little bit more of an example of what happened. If we look back at 90 days, this goes back to kind of early October. We started out that part of the fall fairly dry, and then we got real moist here at the end of October, first part of November. Then we flatlined for a while, but we were above normal. The normal line just is kind of a slowly escalating line. But you can see real quickly in here where we had our dry periods, where we had our moisture. Shows that down here in the lower graph as well, but kind of keeps you up to date on how above normal or below normal we might be in a given period. So overall, as the winter goes, we're still doing pretty well. We're above normal. The last 30 days, though, it's been pretty, I guess, fairly anemic. So you look at the snowpack, and we'll really be focusing on this, of course, as we go into late winter and spring for potential runoff season. But you look where we are in the snowpack, and this is not depth. This is snow water equivalent. So how much moisture is in the pack compared to normal. So we're not doing necessarily too bad. You'd certainly like to see. It's kind of nice when we're more in the 115, 120% normal category for good water supply in the spring. But we're real close to normal in a lot of our basins, and some of our basins are around 10 or 15% below normal. I chose this view so you can kind of look at where some of the other areas are really having trouble. So parts of southern Idaho are struggling, and a lot of the Cascades have been fairly dry recently. So we'll see if they can add some snowpack here throughout the rest of the winter. And then that kind of brings us to the drought monitor. That's the stuff we looked at up till now is just observations. The drought monitor is actually then a group of people taking those observations, looking at things like stream flow and various things, and collaborating on what the particular level of drought is. And so we do it by state, and Ray, for the Weather Service here in the western part of Montana, and then also parts of northern Idaho, is kind of the representative that really adds to that. But there's other agencies then in the state that deal with that. So right now, Montana, we're not doing too bad. You can zoom on this a little bit further and see it's just that northwest area that is indicating any sort of drought at all. But Ray looks really closely at things, precip, of course, but things like stream flows and things like that to give his input. So then we can take a look at what's happening right now and into the near future. So this is the new satellite that we put up. I guess we put it up almost a year ago, but it's only recently has been moved from its testing longitude, which is about around the Bahamas, over to its westward position. So we now have much better view out into the Pacific, certainly where our weather comes from typically. It's right over the equator. That's why you get this kind of skewed look at when you're looking at the full disk. But it's nice. This is just a long wave channel, IR channel that we're looking at. So you can see this really wrapped up, strong weather system off the west coast, and it's kind of driving a southerly flow up over us. Here's, if you can't see the map real well, here's Missoula sitting over here. So it's good to see what kind of systems are out there farther in the, out in the Pacific and headed our way. And I'll really bore you for a minute here and kind of take that into a model form. And this is how we try to forecast. So we'll look at that satellite and see how our models are initialized. Do they agree with it? And then we'll look at a slice of the atmosphere. Now this slice is well above the surface, so you don't have little frictional or valley influences. We want to see what the large-scale weather depiction is. And this is called a 500 millibar chart. At this level, winds are parallel to these lines. So this is where we look for those ridges and troughs. The coloration on here is this where it's red, it's above normal height. So it's more ridging than is normal for that time period. And when you see these big bullseyes of blue, purple, or kind of a whitish color, that's really extra trophy. It's more trophy than it normally is, so stormy. So we think about that. So we can step through here. This is about now. So we see that big system that we saw on the satellite, that big vortex that was spinning around there, and the wind's parallel, so it's driving this relatively warm flow up into our area. We're seeing some sun out there now, but the clouds, if you remember on the satellite, were just off to our west. Quite a bit of cloud cover, so we should see some increasing clouds through the night. And then as we step through, that system kind of moves over us. It weakens as it's moving into this ridge, but we will have some precipitation. We're actually worried about, as that warm flow comes up, we have relatively cool air at the surface. We get down to, I think, 13 this morning. So freezing rain is the concern. As you get that tongue of warm air aloft, ice crystals can melt, come down and then they freeze when they hit that cold surface conditions. I don't think we'll see much of it over here, kind of north central Idaho valleys is where we're most concerned about that. And then the mountains should pick up a few inches of snow tonight. It doesn't look like a big event by any stretch, but a few inches of snow. Then that system moves through and the ridge kind of rebounds while another vortex forms off the west coast. And that's as we're moving into Friday. And then what the interesting feature that we're coming up on is this ridge then just parks over us and in some form or fashion stays right over the top of western Montana. Even there, it's continuing to reform. So even as Pacific energy is trying to hit the west coast, this ridge is strong. So we're really looking into a pretty relatively dry period, probably warm in the mountains, but our valleys, if we're clear, will cool off in the valleys, so we form cold pools. So it might actually end up being colder than normal down low. And fog is very likely, maybe even some persistent fog type patterns. So we'll have to see if it's bad enough for like air travel concerns and things like that. But I'm stepping out here all the way through 384 hours. So we're like the 24th, 23rd of January, and we still have a big prominent ridge. Now, that's a model solution. It may not come to pass, but that's a pretty strong signature. So anyway, that was the long and boring of it. Hopefully you got to look at your Facebook or Twitter or whatever while I was talking. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Thanks, Marty. Action item on the agenda is to approve and sign the 2019 LEPC bylaws.
So, Mr. Chair, as I did send this out to the LEPC membership to review, did not receive any comments or suggested changes. This is really just a cleanup thing that we cannot find a recorded version of current LEPC bylaws, so we just need to have you and the vice chair sign them if there is a motion from the floor to do so.
So moved. Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded to accept the LEPC bylaws as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, we'll enact these as written.
So having approval from this body and with your two signatures, then that will go before the Board of County Commissioners to approve, as this is a subcommittee to them, so.
Next on the agenda is the new appointed county citizen representative to the LEPC. I believe that's Rob Hoos from the Missoula Fire Department.
And Judy Douglas. And so these two individuals went through the process of interviewing with the Board of County Commissioners, who then recommended their seats as county citizen reps. I will mention that the city has opened the city citizen rep, and that application process can be found on their website. But I wanted to give Judy and Rob's both an opportunity to just give us a quick overview of who you are, what you, why you're here. I'll get your mic. All right, you can start.
My name is Rob. I work for the city fire department, and I'm an Army National Guard guy. I'm a medical services officer. So I've done a lot of emergency responding. So I'm just here to see how the community comes together in a planning and responsible.
I'm Judy Douglas. I work at Missoula Aging Services, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Senior Corps program. We've just recently, for the last couple of years, become very involved with the Office of Emergency Management, with the call center and the volunteer reception center. And I'm very interested in this field, so I decided to apply.
Well, thank you both for stepping up and helping out the community. Next on the agenda, we have the emergency operational procedures update, timeline, and process.
So this is just a very brief update on this. As you well know, we are in the process of going through our emergency operations plan and making any necessary updates following two very significant wildfire season and flood events, making sure that we have all the appropriate emergency support functions identified. There probably will be a couple additional annexes that we add in based on kind of our recent experience with volunteer and donations management. But Ken Parks from my office is working on that, and so undoubtedly, many of you have seen an email from him reaching out for some input. Our timeline for that update, we hope to have that completed and for commissioner signature by June. Ken, did you have anything to add?
Along those lines, the next item on the agenda would be the 2018 flood recovery update.
So from our last meeting, we were awaiting an appeal for Missoula County along with several other impacted counties to be included in a major disaster declaration. As you may recall, the state of Montana did receive a major disaster declaration for flooding, but the timelines that were approved excluded Missoula County as well as 5 other counties across the state. And so Montana DES and the governor's office petitioned the federal government to take a second look and essentially issue a second major disaster declaration to be inclusive of the dates that surrounded kind of that second flooding event. That was successful. Missoula County was included in that, which essentially now allocates or allows the county to participate in the FEMA Public Assistance Program, which is a little bit deceiving in that public assistance, a lot of people think that means that our citizens become eligible for assistance. But public in this sense refers to publicly owned infrastructure and or public entity response. And so Missoula County had just shy of about $500,000 in flood-related damage response and recovery. We are working with FEMA right now to go through the documentation process of providing all of the necessary documents to recoup those costs. One thing I do want to mention is that the awesome efforts of Team Rubicon and their volunteer coordination, and Anne Marie being our go-to person for that. Their documentation of volunteer hours, labor in kind, is going to assist Missoula County in probably recouping 100% of our costs as opposed to the standard 75%. So thank you very much appreciated. With that major disaster declaration, it also kind of allocates a percentage of the total damage to the state of Montana for hazard mitigation through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. There's been lots of talk and discussions about doing buyouts of private property that was damaged in flood or that stands to be damaged in future flood events. Unfortunately, the amount of money allocated to the entire state under this disaster declaration is right around $225,000, which is not substantial enough for us to do any kind of buyout process. But we are currently working with Montana DES and looking for good mitigation projects that we may be able to tap into that grant program for. End of report.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. That would be the emergency alerts issued this quarter.
That's me again. So in this quarter, we actually only had one emergency alert that was issued. That was issued at the request of Missoula Police Department on December 29th for a 70-year-old male that had gone missing. Inclement weather, dementia, and just some other things going on. It ended up being a case where we canceled the alert about a half hour after it was sent out because the gentleman had been located. So a good, happy ending there.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the standing committee reports. So from the IMT Oversight Committee, would that be Ken or you?
That's me. Okay. So the IMT Oversight Committee has not met in the last quarter, though per our mobilization guide and just kind of guiding documents for the incident management team, the Oversight Committee should be convening here right after the first of the year, so should have a report for the next meeting.
Report from the Access and Functional Needs Committee.
So Access and Functional Needs Committee, our next meeting is April 2nd over at Summit Independent Living Center, and National Weather Service is going to be there, hopefully. We're going to talk about how we can better serve individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. So if you'd like to be included on that list and you'd like to come, just let me know. I can send you the agenda. And then also the Health Emergency Advisory Team, HEAT. Our next meeting is in just a couple weeks on January 22nd. It's at 9 a.m. at the Health Department. And same thing, if you'd like to be included, just let me know and I can add you to the list.
Thanks, Lee. Next would be the multi-year training and exercise plan committee.
So most of you saw my email that was sent out yesterday with a draft multi-year training and exercise plan. We did receive just a couple copy edits. I have made those in the document that we have. But I'll turn it over to Nick Holloway from my office to kind of talk through any updates to this and kind of how we're changing our focus and some of the core capabilities.
Okay, so the multi-year training and exercise plan subcommittee met in mid-December, and we talked about what our core capability priorities are for training and exercise for Missoula County for the next 3 years. And for the most part, they remain constant. We have situational assessment, public information and warning, mass care services, and operational coordination. To operational coordination, we added operational communication because that's always something we want to work on. Always seems to be a problem, and it comes up every time, so we just want to make sure we're always trying to move forward with that. But the one that we added this time was economic recovery, and so we're going to reach out to some of our private sector partners and NGOs and our COAD partners to train and exercise and become a more resilient community at bouncing back from disasters. So that's the big change, and I just want to let you know this is a 3-year plan divided into 2 parts, 18 months of sort of an operational part where we're actively planning and providing some training and exercise opportunities, and then the second 18 months is more of a deeper look out and more conceptual, and we don't necessarily have exercises planned out then, but we're just kind of conceptualizing. We'll meet in 18 months and firm up those plans at that time too.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the multi-year training and exercise plan for the 2019, 2011, 21 years. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry. Next on the agenda, we have the upcoming trainings and exercises.
So I will provide this in an email out to the group. And we are currently working on kind of a centralized training calendar that we hope to be able to just share a link to this committee and to this body so that we can kind of keep that situational awareness of all the trainings that are going on, hosted by different agencies and within Missoula County. But some, just for your kind of awareness right now, we are Missoula Office of Emergency Management with some local cadre is going to be offering 2 sessions for ICS 300. The first date is February 28th through March 1st. Second, these are 2 separate courses, so it's one or the other. The second session is March 5th through the 6th, 2 days, both 8 to 5 on both of those. And Ken Parks is the point of contact for registration of those. There is no cost to attend those. ICS 300 tends to be the course that is the gateway to ICS 400 and some of the other position-specific courses through FEMA and in Command and General Staff. So it's part of our training and exercise plan, and it's something that we try to provide on a pretty routine basis. I'll probably let RJ talk about the missing and unidentified patients. Okay, so we'll let Nick talk about that. Okay, and then I'll let Leah in the round table probably talk about her salmonella tabletop that's coming up. But then also in anticipation of an ICS 400 class that's coming to Missoula, that is a state-sponsored delivery. That is why we're doing the 2 sessions for ICS 300 so that we can funnel in and fill the seats for ICS 400. The ICS 400 course, again, no cost here in Missoula, will be April 17th and 18th. All the courses, whether it's ICS 300 or 400, will be at the Missoula Emergency Services Training Facility on Burlington Avenue. Then the last thing I have kind of just coming up pretty quick, as you all will recall, through the Homeland Security grant that we acquired, we have been working with our law enforcement, first responders, fire folks, and medical folks to work on this concept of an active attack integrated response model. And so those courses have been going on within the departments. We did a large train the trainer course where we instructed about 40 local cadre to be able to take that course to their agencies and put it on so that we can now kind of come back together as a group and go through kind of the skills as a group in that integrated response model. So the first real whole skills day will be January 28th from 8 to 5 at Mount Jumbo School. There are no, the way to register to be a participant in that course, go through your local agencies. But for anyone who's interested in observing kind of how that training is coming together, feel free to give me a call and we'll get you observing.
Thanks, Adrian. Next up, we have the hazmat incident report, and I am happy to say that we don't have any major hazmat incidents to report of. Also on the state level and regional team level, we are working on the next round of HMEP grants, so a 3-year cycle to look at what training we want to basically line up for each of the teams, and also looking at potential to down the road purchase some equipment to backfill our trailers and rigs. That would be with the Homeland Security fundings from that grant with this next cycle coming out. Aside from that, there really isn't anything going on new and anything of great value to share with the rest of you. So I'll keep you from being bored on that. Next, we'll just hand the microphone around and do a round robin.
So a couple other things that I'll mention, Gordy alluded to. There are a couple grant opportunities that became open yesterday, Homeland Security grant being one of them, the Emergency Management Performance Grant being the other. The Emergency Management Performance Grant is a 50-50 cost share grant that our office applies for every year that helps put on kind of our emergency management activities. We will be applying for that again. But I guess I just kind of want to remind the group how we have typically handled Homeland Security grant applications from the community of Missoula. There has been a requirement, I believe there still is a requirement for all applications from a jurisdiction, in this case the county, to be ranked by the LEPC or to be supported by the LEPC. The grant application will close before our next quarterly LEPC meeting, and so what has been past practice, and unless there are objections, I would propose that we continue with this practice, is for the executive committee of the LEPC, which is myself, the chair, and the vice chair, to fulfill that function on behalf of the LEPC.
What do I say?
It's just a round table, Judy.
Here, you start.
Okay. The only thing I have to add is that Smart 911 now has an app that you can download, and look for some promotion of that through our social media sites and any other channels that we can get the message out using. But this app allows people to sign up for Smart 911 much the same way you can online, but it also makes it a lot easier for people to be updated or to update their accounts and keep them current. So look for that and share it when you can. Thanks.
Can you
So RJ brought to us the idea of using a form to match unidentified patients in the hospitals with submissions from the public. If we have a mass casualty incident, we could put out the form URL for an online submission from folks that are reporting missing people after an accident. And we'll use that to match patients in the ER. And so we're working with RJ and Russet Community to exercise that on February 11th. We'll put it to the test. We've got a Boy Scout troop who is going to play our missing and unidentified patients. We'll take pictures of them that will represent patients lying in the ER or in the hospital in beds, and then we'll match up those pictures with submissions, online submissions that they make. And they're gonna test us a little bit. They're gonna give us some easy ones to match and some medium level ones, and then some difficult ones where the picture doesn't match the description and things like that. So that'll be on February 11th.
I just want to add to that, you know, RJ brought this up kind of following some lessons learned from the Pulse nightclub shooting. But as we just watched kind of the horrific wildfire season play out in California with the Paradise Fire and the amount of missing people, I think this is a very timely and appropriate exercise for us to participate in. So.
Hi. I'm with Mountain Lion. We're just starting to get involved with this. When I took over the safety and security position, I was surprised to see that we hadn't been involved. We are the only established agency that can really move a lot of people, both ambulatory people and people with disabilities. So we look forward to doing what we can to help the committee.
So we are putting on a foodborne illness tabletop on March 5th at 10:30 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn. I have a registration link that I can send you if you're interested. We're going to be testing a salmonella outbreak. And yeah, just let me know and I can send you that.
Yes, at the Health Department, we are hosting a closed pod workshop, and that's on January 29th, 10:30 to noon. We do have some pre-identified partners that we reached out to attend. We will have the state SNS coordinator here that will provide us some information and just help us get prepared if we ever need to activate our closed pod. You bet.
What was that? And what SNS is.
Do you want to go ahead?
You can. You know what SNS is.
Okay. And so we have our state friend here, so that's why I asked. But our closed pod is we pre-identified partners in Missoula, mostly the larger employers, healthcare facilities, university, schools, and we're asking them to take care of their population if there's like a big community-wide emergency. And our goal is to get a pill into everyone's mouth very quickly. So at the health department, if we don't have enough staff to get medication out to the community, we're asking our closed pod partners to help out. So we are looking at them providing us information on how many employees they have and for us to give them enough medication to not only take care of the employees, but their families as well. So if you think about if we reach out to all those larger employers, we can, it helps out the community quite a bit. And then with SNS, that's our strategic national stockpile. And so again, if there's like a major community-wide event, we have access through the state to get stuff, I guess is what we call it. Is that right? Medical supplies rapidly delivered here, dropped off, and then we would disseminate that to the community. So medical supplies. Do you have anything to add to that? No. Okay. Anyone questions?
Well, I have to say something. I just want to thank you for your vote of confidence. And as Marty was talking earlier, if the weather turns in the way it is, when we end up with some fog and stuff in the valley, be real careful. Streets will be slick, especially when approaching the railroad tracks. You got your defrosters and whatever on. Pay special attention and watch out for the trains. Thank you.
What do you mean if it plays out like I said?
Of course it will. Either it will or it won't, right, Marty?
We're in the early stages of planning for a chainsaw operation out at Rock Creek again. This will be I think we're going on our 3rd year of working fire mitigation out there. That includes chainsaw training. If you want chainsaw training, it's very basic. When you start, you have to be a member of Team Rubicon, insurance type stuff. But we're always looking for people to help with the swamping, the cleanup of the stuff after those of us with chainsaws go through and hash and slack things. So that'll be the last weekend of April.
Okay, again, Rick Forkles, Western District Field Officer. Callum Schneider here, he's the Western District Preparedness Coordinator. So we kind of are talking from a regional perspective here. This is one of our 10 counties. Certainly, we are resources in the Missoula Office of Emergency Management's toolbox, and we can be used for anything, certainly real-world responses and preparedness activities. There's a couple of noteworthy regional events going on. An active shooter full-scale exercise that currently scheduled for 5 June in Deer Lodge in Powell County. And then there's also a hazmat exercise in Mineral County that's currently scheduled for May 11th, but that may slip a little bit. Some of the agencies in the room here I've worked with before on some exercises. I'm going to talk with some folks here afterwards to see if they want to get involved with either of those events. Certainly if they would happen at the level that we're planning them for, I'm certain that Missoula County resources would and could be impacted by that as well. One of the biggest things that I'm going to always be trying to do is to maximize opportunities, to maximize exercises, and take a look at that from initial response on up through multiple operational periods. Hey, how many agencies would be involved with that? How many can we get involved in an exercise and really stretch operational coordination, which is usually a capability that we are always striving to build and then sustain that going forward. So that's all I have.
RJ? Nothing from the round table, thanks.
Does anybody have anything else to add before we close business? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all for coming.